the fifth man rotation. Matt Waldron in line right now. 5 innings so far, 3 hits, a run. Randy Vasquez, 4 innings, 12 hits, a 6.75 ERA right now. Stephen Kolek, as I mentioned, no earned runs, no runs at all in 5 shutout innings. Kyle Hart, who they brought back from the KBO, he's been working on the backfields. He hadn't pitched yet in a big league ball game. I would think that may come, later this week. And Johnny Brito, 3 innings, a couple of hits, and no runs so far. For me, and again, we're going to see how this all, works out. But I think Matt Waldron's the fifth starter. Now we'll see what he does tomorrow. And every time you go out there, you're, on pins and needles. But I don't know. There's something about Matt Waldron I really like. And I know his numbers at the end of last year were ugly, but he had a good run there and kept the Padres in the playoff hunt. I like his delivery. I like his demeanor. And he pitches. Like Randy Vasquez, I think Randy Vasquez has got pretty decent stuff. But I think sometimes because he's still a young guy at the big league level, and I thought he made great strides last year, becoming more of a pitcher than a thrower, but there's still that thought in me that he's still a little bit of a thrower from time to time. And Matt Waldron, he can be getting hit all over the ballpark, but you don't know it by looking at him. He doesn't look like he gets real frustrated on the mound. He holds his composure. And I really like that. But when Randy Vasquez came over for the Yankees, I had seen him pitch, not only in person, but I'd seen him on TV a bunch of times. I really like his stuff. And, Stephen Kolek's still a developing pitcher right now. Kyle Hart, other than looking at some tape of him pitching and throwing that slider or sweeper down and in to right-hand hitters in the KBO, I've not seen him pitch in a big league game. And Johnny Brito, I think Johnny Brito's got a great arm, but he has a propensity to leave a ball up and they take him out of the ballpark. And again, he's another guy that I think will have a role. And now his role may be at the start of the year down in AAA in the starting rotation. And I'd say the same thing for Stephen Kolek. You've got a ton of bullpen guys here. And if you think Kolek, a young guy, if you think that he may have an opportunity to be a starting pitcher, I think you send him down and you let him continue to lengthen out, continue to gain confidence in, 3 or 4 pitches and get him into a regular rotation. I don't want him to be up here in the bullpen and be a guy that pitches when you're 3 up or 3 down late in the ball game. I mean, Padres got some arms, man. They got some arms. We talked about, well, the Padres haven't developed arms. Well, they really haven't developed arms to come to the big league level, but they have developed arms. But a lot of those guys have gone elsewhere. And now, because we know they're probably in a little bit of a financial bind, they got to stick with some of these arms and develop them. We're going to find out just how good the Padre farm system is as far as development. Okay, because we haven't seen a whole lot at the big league level. Most of the guys that have come in to pitch for the Padres, even the bullpen guys, have come from outside the organization. I mean, we got Adrian Morahone, who they signed, when he was a 16-year-old kid. And now we're really starting to get something out of Adrian. But for me right now, I think Matt Waldron would be the fifth starter. And I would ask you, who do you think will be the fifth starter for the Padres? We're getting to that point in time in spring where we got to start having some opinions on some things. I haven't really listened to the games. I've been watching the games that have been on Padres TV. Jesse and Tony doing a great job as always. I mean, where's Orsillo? Where's Mud Grant? Where's Scanlon? I love when Scanlon's down in the dugout interviewing players myself. But I guess they're only doing like 2 games, I heard. But we're lucky we got Jesse and Tony. They're doing a great job. They could have hired me. I could have gone down there and interviewed a few people in the dugout. Love talking ball with those guys. But anyways, for me right now, Matt Waldron is the leader in the clubhouse. And again, I haven't seen Kyle Hart pitch. We'll hopefully see him this week. I'm very excited about seeing him, and I hope he can help the ball club. But we'll go from there. Okay. Always love your comments. Let's get to a few of these. Please do some epic rants, Coach. Well, I'll get fired up. There's no doubt about that. Please do some epic rants, Coach. You know what? I call them as I see them. And at the end of the day, Padres got a good ball club. I was trying to tell people that. I had people coming up to me. No matter where I go, people associate me with Padres baseball. I wish I was getting a paycheck from the Padres. But I had people coming up to me before the game and at halftime and even after the game when I was putting my belongings away after the basketball game the other night. Hey, what do you think about the Padres this year? I had a season ticket holder for the Padres and a season ticket holder for the Tritons come running down. Hey, coach, what do you think so far? Well, what do I think? Stay healthy. And I know Manny missed the game Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm not overly concerned about Manny's tightness in his back. He picked up that illuminated soccer ball the other night on opening night. I think he was okay. And you know what? If the Padres would have come out and said, hey, you know what? Manny's part owner in the San Diego FC. We're going to give him a couple of days off. He's going to go back over there and be a part of the festivities. That's fine. Maybe his back was tight a little bit. It's Manny Machado, folks. If he needs a day or two to come back here, I don't think it's going to affect his season. The guy drove in over 100 runs last year, hit 29 dingers. He's going to be okay. But yeah, they said he had back tightness, but he's scheduled to be back in the lineup tomorrow. Okay, Dar, I think it will be a 6-man rotation for a month. It'll come down to Waldron and Hart. I just want a lefty. It'd be nice to have a lefty. And you know what, Dar? I'm going to tell you right now, 6-man, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Keep guys healthy. It's a different era of baseball. I had a professional scout contact me last night. We're going back and forth. And I had sent him a video of something that happened many years ago, and he was commenting on it. And he goes, oh, man, the game's a lot different now. It was basically Dickie Knowles knocking down George Brett in a World Series game, and Jim Fry came out and went crazy, and then Rose got involved in it. And it was just a tape I sent to a buddy who's in professional baseball, and we were going back and forth. And 6-man rotation, I'm all for it. They've been doing that in Japan forever because in Japan, they play Tuesday through Sunday. They take Mondays off. And that's why guys like Darvish and Yamamoto, Sasaki, I mean, all these guys that have come from Japan, they have come from a 6-man rotation. And the way they kind of baby pitchers now and the way they go about things, and there's so much money invested in pitchers, I'm okay with a 6-man rotation. But if you're going to go to a 6-man rotation, I want you to, number one, you're going to only have 7 guys in your bullpen. See, again, the Dodgers have an advantage over all of us. And I mean all of us, being Padre fans or Rocky fans or Giant fans or Diamondback fans, because Ohtani doesn't count. Believe it or not, Ohtani doesn't count as a pitcher. So you're only allowed to have 13 pitchers. But Ohtani, because he's a position player, doesn't count, so they can technically have 14 pitchers. They got another advantage over us. But if you go to the 6-man rotation, that means you've got 7 guys in the bullpen. And I would hope if you're only pitching once basically every 7 days, and maybe you throw in an off day, I would hope those guys are going to go more than 5 innings. I would hope that they would go 6, maybe, the frontline guys go 7 innings occasionally and take pressure off of the bullpen. That'd be down a man if you went to a 6-man rotation. Tyler, which Padre players are you concerned that are dealing with injury? Reynolds and Hoeing, Sean Reynolds, obviously, they're being very careful with. We're going to talk about Brian Hoeing. That shoulder just barking. He hadn't thrown off the mound. And it looks like, and he's a good pitcher. And there was a point in time at the end of last year regarding Brian Hoeing. They were talking about maybe making him a starter. They knew they were going to come into this year maybe short on a starter, and they were talking about Brian Hoeing, who's a real good, middle relief guy, long relief guy. And right now, from what we're hearing, and I read it in the paper today as well, it sounds like he won't be ready to start the season. And you can't start losing guys like that. I mean, I think the Padres have enough right now to make up for it. But again, it's a depth piece, and it's a guy that is a proven big league pitcher who can get big league guys out in critical situations. Sean Reynolds, I thought, had his moments last year. I don't think he's one of the guys you're going to see in the seventh, eighth, or ninth inning right now. He may work his way into that, but Brian Hone's one of those guys. So hopefully, that thing calms down. I'm going to tell you, I tell young players this all the time. Beginning of the year, if you have a sore shoulder or elbow, you got to shut it down. Because if you don't, and you're continuing to go out there, it's like walking around with a rock in your shoe. It's irritating. And if you've got a sore elbow or a sore shoulder, you got to shut it down because you're not going to get rid of it the entire year if you keep trying to throw through it. It's just going to get worse, and it's going to take you out eventually for a long term. So short term, you don't like to be on the sidelines, but you want to be there for the long term. Tyler, which Padre players are you concerned? That's the same one there. Again, I'm always worried about injuries. I'm always worried about injuries. Okay, I want to get into the left field battle a little bit. We're going to get to more questions. We got a ton of questions coming in, and we're going to get to all of them. I want to talk about the left field battle, and this will be interesting. And what plays in this? It's more than just the numbers. It really is more than just the numbers. It really kind of comes down to whose contract is what, and does a ball club want to eat a contract? And really, the guys in left, and none of those guys are making money, including Jason Hayward and Connor Joe. But right now, here's where we're at. I'm just going to give you the numbers, and everybody's a little bit different. Like Jason Hayward, we know Jason Hayward is still an outstanding fielder. And when I've heard him talk in spring, he's talked about, hey, I'm going to be able to play left, center, and right. If they want Fernando to maybe DH a day, I can play right. If Jackson Merrill, they want to give him a day off or, let him DH one day, get him off his feet, I can play center. And we know he's in line to play a lot of left field with Connor Joe probably. That's kind of the way things were penciled in initially. But now we got some competition out there. Jason Hayward so far is 0 for 6. And we know he didn't have a great year last year with the Dodgers. He eventually got moved to the Houston Astros. Good, solid major league career. He's on the downside. Maybe a year or two left. Who knows? Maybe he'll find the fountain of youth in San Diego like a lot of older players have in their career. They come in, they play a role, and they get the job done. Jason Hayward is not going to be wowed by the moment. I can tell you that. But 0 for 6 right now. Doesn't have a hit in spring training. Then you've got Connor Joe hitting 182, but an on-base percentage of 438. Guy knows how to get on base. He can play multiple positions. He can play first base. He can play third. He got a good arm. A number of years ago when I was working with John Boggs and Connor was playing professional baseball already. This is probably back in about 2019. I started a workout group of guys that we represented. Connor Joe was one of those guys, and we'd go out and work out. And I was playing first base, and Connor would throw the ball over from third base. Man, he got a cannon arm, man. He hit my glove, and I could feel it. Yeah, can you imagine me at like 63 years old out picking balls from guys like Connor Joe? And actually, he normally hit me right in the glove. But he can play third too, and he can play right, and he can play left. And in a pinch, very good catcher as an amateur. When he first went to USC, he was a catcher, and they moved him to first base. Ended up being a first-round draft pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So Connor Joe's a ball player. He's not afraid to get his uniform dirty. Then you got Gavin Sheets, who I think's got some ability. I think he has untapped ability. So far, he's hitting 133. He had a couple of hits that first game, couple of doubles. He's 2 for 15 now, hitting a $133. But I think Victor Rodriguez, work with him. Here's another guy that can play first base, and he can play the two corner spots in the outfield. Padres are coming up with some depth. And I think Gavin Sheets, I think he could be a guy that I would hope that would help this ball club. I don't want to say surprise us, but when I look at his numbers with the White Sox, they're kind of underwhelming. First year was pretty good, but after that, underwhelming. The expectations with the White Sox were not great, as we know. They lost 121 games last year. But there's something about Gavin Sheets I like. His swing can be a little bit stiff. He needs to use his hands a little more than his arms, trust his hands a little bit. But I'm sure Victor Rodriguez is working with him on that. And then you got Oscar Gonzalez, who I've been kind of following a little bit the last couple of years. Spent time with Cleveland, got hurt last year, and had kind of a wasted year. had a serious injury and off to a great start with the Padres, hitting 368 with a couple of doubles. Eggy Rosario, I think, has to make this team for me. This guy, everywhere he goes, he hits. He's hitting 278 right now, but he can play. He can play second base. He can play third. He can play the outfield. They're working with him on the outfield. Right-hand hitter. Um, if he doesn't make the Padres this year, then I don't know if he'll ever make the Padres. But I kind of like this guy. He gives you a good quality at bat. And then you've got Tirso Ornelas. Now, I watched him in the Caribbean Series, and his bat to me looked a little bit slow. But he's starting to make some adjustments at the plate. His swing's a little bit long. I know he hit 23 home runs last year in AAA. And the difference between AAA and the big leagues, sometimes guys don't have the heater. They're more 88, 91 rather than, 91 to 96, 97. And sometimes, the bats, you can have a little bit longer swing and still have success. Well, when I watched him in the Caribbean Series, I thought his swing looked a little long. It looks like they've already tightened it up a little bit. And again, going against big league guys, you're going to make adjustments. Every level a guy moves up, it's going to go. Some guys make the adjustments right away. Others, it takes them, 25 or 30 or 40 at bats, usually about 2 weeks. And guys can make adjustments. And Tirso Ornelas right now, really pushing hard. Really pushing hard for a spot. Now, if you bring him on the ball club and, you got Connor Joe and you got Jason Hayward, what does that mean for Gavin Sheets? Who's going to be your backup catcher? Are you going to keep 3 catchers? I think you'll only keep 2. It's going to get down to the nitty gritty. But I think right now, Tirso Ornelas is in the running for a spot. And I think Eggy Rosario's in the running for a spot. So again, Connor Joe's making about $1 million with incentives. Jason Hayward $1 million with incentives. I think up to $1.5 million more. But we'll see. That's going to be an interesting